And yeah, as I said, I want to give you an overview of what is Ley-con, what are the benefits, and give an example how Ley-con could work, and how we yeah, work together in the future. So first, maybe what is the situation in labs today? I think most of the people would know it who are on the call, but I will summarize this a little bit. Laboratories are a complex environment. You have to deal with a lot of entities like materials which are used in experiments. There are environments conditions that have an impact on yeah, the processes, on the results technicians are creating. You have, of course, the samples you want to measure, you want to work with. That could be liquids, that could be cells, and each of it had different yeah, requirements how to proceed them. And then, of course, the process, I said that before, processes are managed somehow. You have the devices, and of course, there are a lot of people working in labs that needs to be managed. And all this data needs to bring together, and this makes it really complex to organize a lab, and it also brings us to some problems in the past and in the future that needs to be solved. So to summarize them a little bit is, of course, there are solutions on the market that solve those problems, but today it's still hard to connect them. And so in each project you want to digitalize your lab, you have integration costs, and which each system solutions you add, this price will get higher and higher, and the integration cost will go up. And this means that a lot of our customers, and we see it at our customers, is that that the progress of digitalization is slow, and the progress on the data acquisition side is also slow. So sometimes there are data lags, and because there is not a solution established, for example, for warehousing, or we have a process and some parts are not digitized today. So that means if you want to use artificial intelligence systems or other things, it's hard because some data in the flow is missing. But of course, because of yeah, more processes, more complexity in the labs, people or labs want to solve this problem, and what they do is mostly they search for monolithic systems that brings all the functionality in one solution. But this is only yeah, this shifts the problem to the other side, because with these monolithic systems, they are mostly complex, they are hard to maintain. You're coming to a vendor lock-in effect. So if you want to change something, you have to call the vendor and say, okay, I want to customize it for me. Then the vendor has to do some individual changes, and that all comes to a problem circle. And we asked us for a few years ago, how could we solve these problems? What does a software system, what are the requirements that we can come over these problems? And what are the requirements for such a system, and how to break out of the circle or leave the circle? And we find out that it's really important that you split a software system into modular parts. So, for example, you can have a system for the management of the process. You have for the management of the people, for the project, and all. And of course, you need with this you bring a lot of flexibility in the system. And if you have different parts, you can easily update them. You can easily develop new modules for your system and maintain them, because they are smaller than a big structure, and of course put them easily together. To realize this, it's really important to use open interfaces, to use interfaces like standards like Zila, to easily connect these modules with each other, that it's easy to get access to the data or control devices. Then I said that before, it's really important because the labs are so individual. Each person has an individual tasks to do, that the software system that is built up is really user-centric, so that each user can configure their own setting, use the modules he needs or she needs, and to fulfill their everyday work. And this must be in a lab specific, because not everyone is doing the same things. And on the other side, to make the system more less complex, it's interesting to have a single point of contact. That means at the end that each module doesn't need to know about other modules, so that that it's guaranteed that each module is independent from each other. We did that. Oh, my mouse is a little bit fast. Sorry. Genau. Now I want to explain a bit what is Ley-con, and herefore we created Ley-con. And because software is sometimes hard to explain, I would love to explain it a little bit with a simple example we create in our labs with a sensor use case. For this, I would jump to a video. At the beginning, it was a bit not running so smooth, but hopefully it's working now. So what we did in our labs was to create a use case for cell cultivation. So you can, most of you will imagine how cell cultures work. And to run the process really easy, it's important to get sensor data, to know when are the cells in the right count, when are the cells in the right view, when do I have to change the liquids, for example. And for this, we created a little use case. On the one side, I will pause it here a little bit. Is the data, and we split this use case in two parts. One is the data acquisition part. Herefore, we used a sensor from the company Exner. You will see in a few minutes, to get the data, to get, in this case, the turbidity value of my sample. And yeah, here you see the sensor. We used this with Zila. We created a Zila interface to get the data out of it, to control the sensor and send this data to our Ley-con system. In Ley-con, the data is collected and stored, and so we have the possibility to use this data in different applications. We can use this data in different applications depending on the use case you have, in which scenario you are. The first idea we had is what happens if you're doing the next steps. You're sitting at your laboratory bench, have something in your hands, and needs the information what's happening with your cells in the incubator in the other room. So what you can do, we integrated a voice system from LabVoice, which easily is connected to our Ley-con system, and it's now possible to ask the system, what is the current value? What is the current status of the cells? Or start and stop measurement if you don't need that. Yeah, if we will publish this video, you can see what the colleague is asking the system. But as you can see, LabVoice is preparing the answer for the question, what is the current value of the cells. The other thing is, if you want to have more data, for example, time series, etc., then there's also the possibility to use a web interface. We created for this a Ley-con web app. This allows you to get the time series data of the sensor. Of course, it's not only sending the turbidity, it's also sending the temperature, and then you have the possibility of other data measurements, data structures. And the other is what we did with the company PTC is we think of, okay, maybe you're on a daily routine and want to check all the sensors that are over your lab. And then we created an augmented reality app which allows you to go through your lab, and see the values in real time on your tablet where they are. In this case, it's the turbidity and temperature value. So what you have seen in the video is that how easily it is if you have this centralized system or system module, you can easily get data in it and get data out of it in different scenarios as you would need it. So first, I would like to, of course, thank you all the partners that cooperate with us to realize this use case. I switch. Of course, what is Ley-con? Ley-con is our central ecosystem that connects people, processes, and all the entities I explained before. But how do we realize it? Or was it the concept hinter Ley-con? The concept is in the other way that it's in the current structure is that you integrate software A, you integrate software B if you want to have a connection. Then if you're using software B and want to have the data of software C, you again have an integration effort. And of course, if you want to create the data from C in A, you have to do it again and again. And what we do with the Ley-con is to centralize this, only having one point of contact. And what you can do is creating software A with Ley-con and B with Ley-con, and then you have the connection on data level between A and B, and of course, in this case, connected this with the software C. And this is seamless in all direction, depending on how much the software is integrated. On the user side, I said that before, it's really important that you have access to the data and to many different modules and software solutions. And for this, we created a little browser, so to say, where you can have all your apps in one place and choose the ones you need for your processes. So everyone can individually choose the apps he needs for the process and have them in a shortcut menu and bring that together. From Ley-con itself, as a lot of solutions, apps we created for our daily work. For example, you have seen before our monitor app, sensor monitoring app, we can, more or less integrate every sensor you have in the lab and connect the data and show it to the user. Then we have other systems for managing rooms, for managing where you are, where people are working, and provide this data to other systems. And we created some years ago a tool, a warehouse tool to manage the consumable chemical samples and bring the data from each system together. So, you know, if you're doing an experiment on one side, what are the temperature there, what is the cell count there, and bring it together with the sample, everything. But it's not only to connect Fraunhofer solutions and what we need for our project, it's also to use external partners. One example is we integrated an open source LIMS that's publicly available, and now you can send the data from sensors, from processes directly in this open source LIMS and use it there for documentation or other things you needed. And of course, there are commercial solutions like the one from Fluix we use to also to track samples, for example, or to integrating lab operator to doing processes. Overall, we have Ley-con currently in 4 use cases at customers, and the first things we saw was that there is a that the people can one time they don't as they have everything in one place. They saved some time over the day because they don't need to document a lot because everything is stored in one place. They don't need to adding new modules is not so complex as before. So there are a lower cost for maintenance or for integration of new products. And on the other side, what we see is if we have partners like LabVoice and we integrated such a system, the cost for integration are less than doing one-by-one connection. We estimated at 40%. And of course, in future, it could be easy to distribute a new software solution more easy or reducing marketing costs. Okay, for now, I want to thank you for listening to the presentation, and it's now open if you have any questions or remarks. If you can digitize your lab or want to be a part of this network and see how you can integrate your solutions in ours.